Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Pickleball Crew. We are a group of pickleball fanatics based in southeast Louisiana and are passionate about all things pickleball everywhere. Our focus is to inform, acknowledge those who help build the game regionally, and promote tournaments in our area. We do our best to present this with a love of the sport, a sense of humor, and a lot of fun. So join Vicki Wynn, Ken Wynn, Jeff Fuchsia, and me, Bud Klein, in our latest episode. We are glad you are along for the ride. In this week's episode, the crew is going to break down and discuss the points made by pickleball pro Zane Navratil in his video, Don't Copy the Pros, 8 Things Amateurs Should Avoid in Pickleball. We're going to cut the video into 8 segments, but you can view the entire program in the link below. Jeff will enlighten us with his Burr Under My Saddle. In keeping with coaching aspects of this episode, Vicki will share her shoutouts, and Jeff will deliver a very special personal message. Ken winds us up with his reviews of local and regional tournaments. Stay with us for another great show, and of course, always, please like and subscribe to our channel. Hello everybody, and welcome to the 36th episode of the Pickleball Crew. This week we're going to take a little bit of a departure from what we usually do, and Vicki's going to give us a little bit of an intro.
That's right, Bud. We actually watched a video, which we're big watchers of pickleball on television, YouTube, everything. Sometimes a pro will put out a video that has tips that we just feel really strongly about and feel like we need to go over this. And in this case, we felt like it was important enough for us to share it with you guys today. These are tips that amateurs do, that he feels like, here we are, we're watching pros, we're trying to emulate what they do. These are shots and things that he feels very much that we should not be doing. It's risky, potentially. Could be that it's going to cause wrist problems down the road or something. There's steps to getting there. And so by pushing too soon, we actually are probably going to have more boo-boos than we are going to have great shots. So it's great video, great advice. And as Bud said, this is a little bit of a diversion for us, but we felt it was important enough. And especially when you go through it and you see what these are, you're going to know that you see a lot of this going on the court. And you'll know who does them successfully and who does not. It's Zane Navratil. And the title is Don't Copy the Pros, 8 Things Amateurs Should Not Do.
So the first one we're going to take a look at is number 1, and that's don't put a lot of lead weight on your paddle.
First thing that you don't want to do as an amateur, put tons and tons of lead tape on your paddle. I do have a whole nother video about my paddle setup. I put a little bit of lead tape on my paddle, but really if you're weighting up your paddle past 9 ounces or so, even 8.5 ounces, that's too much. Pros do it because sometimes we need a lot of power behind some of those quick exchanges from the net. Also, like, I'm clearly jacked and I can swing a 9-ounce paddle if I wanted to, but really you lose too much from it. You lose too much hand speed when you weight up your paddle a tremendous amount, and so I would say at the amateur level, not worth it.
I've tried putting weight on my paddle and I quit doing it. Only because, number 1, I felt like the weight I was putting on was inconsistent in the terms of weight, and it wasn't really doing me any good.
Yeah, I agree. He said don't get over 8.5 or 9 ounces because it does slow down. While it's good for possibly just blocking, it's good for adding power to your strokes when you're up at that no volley zone. And he demonstrates, as we saw, holding a weight in his hand. It gets hard to react with a heavier paddle. There's videos out there, there's links out there, adding weight at 10 and 2 or adding weight at the base of the paddle on both sides kind of may broaden the sweet spot. But again, be careful and just add a little bit at a time and don't go overboard with the lead tape.
Ken, how much do you rep those paddles? How much do those usually weigh? What's the weight range in those?
So our paddles run between about 7.5 and 8.5 ounces is what you can order. For demo paddles, they ship 8.0, right? 7.9 to 8.1 is typical demo because that's kind of the sweet spot and allows more people to try it out. And even if they feel like, oh, I need a little more weight, they can even add weight while they're demoing it. But you can order most paddles from most companies, or at least I know from Engage, you can specify the weight within 1/10 of an ounce of what you're typically looking for.
I was going to say, Ben Johns put out a video at one point discussing how he likes his lead tape, and there were some balance issues. So if you have a tendency to be a little bit wristy, the paddle's moving a little bit too much on you, or maybe it is a little too light and you're getting too much play in it, there's certain places that you can put it for balance. Ken, I know you've had to do that to my paddles, just to help the balance and the feel of it. On the other side of that, I wanted to mention that we have with several people recommended that they order a lighter weight paddle if they're unsure, because there's so many players out there that are just getting started and everything else. The last thing you want them doing is ordering a paddle and they order an 8.5 and it's just too heavy. You cannot take that weight off. Whereas if you order something that's a little bit lighter, you can start to add a little bit of weight and get that perfect weight that you need. So I wouldn't be afraid to ask for help from someone if you're unsure of what to do in that. Don't be afraid to ask for help when they're ordering paddles or knowing what weight they need.
Yeah, I was going to say the biggest takeaway I got from it was don't just load a bunch of weight on your paddle. If you're going to toy with it, tinker in light weights and realize that, hey, just putting weight on your paddle is not going to change your game so dramatically. Don't think that it's a big answer, but it can help fine tune your paddle to some of the things that you're wanting to do better. It used to drive me nuts trying to block and reset and you're in the right spot, but the ball just kind of flubs off of your paddle. That's usually either the paddle's twisting in your hand or, you can put a little weight on to expand the sweet spot, like Ken said, where you'll get more solid resets. I know there's Sarah Ansberry's a pro. She loads her paddle down with weight, but she's very strong. Ronnie Walters that plays in Baton Rouge, Ronnie loads his paddle down, but he's a strong guy. So it can be okay for some people out there, but I think for the general, masses, I think it's best if you just take your time, go with a little weight here and there, tinker with it, and just try to see if you can fine tune that paddle to get it where you want it at.
Yeah, from my experience, I never felt like that it did anything appreciably better to my hitting the ball than without. So I just quit putting it on. All right, Krewe, that was some good discussion. And now number 2 is don't attempt tweeners.
Number 2, tweeners. Pretty self-explanatory. Guys, this one's especially dangerous for you. Tweeners are really hard. There's almost no time that you should actually be going for them. If you want to just look cool and embarrass your opponents, maybe that works, but for the most part, you just end up embarrassing yourself.
I don't have any experience as tweeners, so
I don't either. I've only ever seen Gary. I think he does it, and I think Jody does it once in a while.
Yes.
But I've never really seen anybody do it.
Don't know that there's, again, watching him do it is one thing. And if it is something that you're working at, how often are you really even going to use that shot? Is it something that you work towards?
Like I said,
the one scenario that I've seen where a tweener actually has worked, and it works on the tennis court, and I've seen it work on the pickleball court, is when a ball is hit over your head and you're running toward the baseline to get to a ball, and you can't catch up to the ball to try to hit a side shot. So you actually run almost over the ball and hit it back between your legs back toward the net. Now, again, it's a high risk, low chance of you doing it, but that's one time that I've seen success in a tweener, both pickleball and tennis.
for me is you got to try to understand what kind of athletes we're talking about that are doing this. These
Right.
pro players are
Good point.
okay. There's certain balls like a lob or something like that where you can run around and get around it on the back side. What they're doing, they're running straight line shot right at this ball, and they're running it between their legs and then hitting it back. They don't have time, even as fast as they are, and it's kind of the last thing that they can do to try to get to some of these balls. Mm-hmm. But for most of us mere mortals, I don't I don't think it's something that I mean. Kip Atwell does it every now and then. I've seen him do it. It's more of like, hey, we're having fun here and just, try it. But no, it's definitely not something that I think needs to be in the amateur game.
Yeah, the only thing close to that I've ever tried it is the same scenario, Jeff, on a lob running after it, but I hit the ball off to my side, not between my legs.
Right.
But I hit it backwards. And I think it worked once out of probably 100 times I've tried it. So number 3 is flicking the wrist and low speed ups.
Okay, so the next one, number 3, is flicking the wrist and really low speed ups. I have another video that I'll link in the description describing the 3 steps to attacking. The first step is punching outwards. The second step is the roll volley, where you get a little bit of topspin by swinging from low to high. And the third step of attacking is the flick, where you are actively flicking your wrist to try and get more topspin and pace on that ball. And if you're doing that improperly, you can really screw up your wrist. You're gonna miss a tremendous amount of shots, and it's just not worth it. You're gonna lose more points than you're going to win.
Yep, this is a good one, y'all. This is a good one. It's very high risk. It takes a lot of skill to put that ball back on somebody from such a low position. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about percentages in Burr Under My Saddle, but I think it's a percentage thing. I don't think people realize how low percentage some of their shots are. If you're doing this and it's working 2 times out of 10, it needs to be taken out of your arsenal. It's hurting you more than it's helping you, in my opinion, as far as the flip from a down low position.
Yeah, that's one of the, and I still find myself trying to speed up a low bounce. And I think that's what he's talking about there, not just flicking the wrist, but trying that top spin forehand on a low bounce in the kitchen. Just doesn't work.
Yeah, he brings out too that he thinks that it's a good idea to learn to do the roll first. Get comfortable, so comfortable with the roll that your roll is so successful that then you can start to try to do a little bit of the flick and put it away.
One of the points he made with the roll is that you're not using your wrist. You're not breaking your wrist. So that's what he said. Work on that roll first when you master the roll, because that flick of the wrist, that's kind of you've really got to be right on target, right on making contact, right at the right point. So like Jeff said, that's if you don't sit and practice that thousands of times, that's a difficult shot to master.
Well, I think for players at our level, I think it's something that you can when you get a chance, drill and work on it. But then when you get in the game, it's not like the roll it's an integral part of what we do, backhand and forehand roll. But this flick, it's something that I think, especially at our level, it'll be best used. Just break it out, kind of like a lob, every once in a while. And if you're breaking it out 10 times and 2 out of 10 it's working and 8 out of 10 it's not, then, I mean, you can keep working on it in rec play if you want. I mean, anybody can do what they want to, but maybe go back to the drawing board and keep working on it, where when you break out this surprise attack, let's say it works 7 out of 10 times. Now you're cooking with grease there. Break it out and use it.
But a lot of people doing this. I mentioned it in the intro, but I do think that this is one of them that we see a lot of, especially backhand when the ball is coming off to the side. There's a lot of people who just want to flick it with their wrist.
Sometimes I try to hit that backhand roll volley, but sometimes I find myself trying to do a wrist flick. And more often than not, it usually hits right below the white tape on the net.
Yeah.
So I try to just punch it across.
Yeah. And the roll y'all design, the roll, you're getting that arc. So it's a shot that has a higher percentage of getting over just because of what type shot it is than the flick. The flick is like a straight line type deal.
Number 4, changing your grip from the kitchen line.
Number 4, changing your grip from the kitchen line. So I personally love to change my grip from the kitchen line. You definitely should not. I generally play in a continental grip, but occasionally when I get an easy forehand, I'll switch it over to a semi-western for a speed up.
Vicki, this is a good one and very appropriate.
Okay, so we just worked on the tomahawk, which he mentioned in the video, but we had tried the scorpion, and so we thought, that's it, we got to work on the tomahawk too. And he does a beautiful one in the video, but again, it is changing your grip and then being able to change it back, which is his big point. Change it back. And I don't know if you noticed how fast at the end he was able to change back and forth. And for most of us, we cannot do that. It's just not an easy thing to do, not a safe thing to do. You can't always count on the fact that you use the tomahawk. It's not coming back to you. And again, percentage-wise, you're going to hit more in the net, hit more out, whatever, until you get really, really good at it. So some of these things, though, that he's talking about, and I think this is an idea that with the tomahawk and maybe a few other shots, you do it at drills. You work at it and work at it. But in a match, this is not something that you want to pull out regularly. And as Jeff mentioned, you pull it out now and then. And if you're feeling really, good about it, but it's not something that you're going to pull out every time the ball comes to you that way. But that's the biggest thing with changing your grip. And most of us are not there yet to be able to do it and get that paddle back up in that ready position quick enough.
Yeah, I know we tried working on that the other day at one of our drill sessions, and I can make the change, but it's getting back that's the killer. And and even when I played tennis, and it's been a long time since I played tennis, people tried to get me to change my grip on tennis, and I just never could. So I just learned to hit the shots I need to hit with that continental grip. I never changed over.
Yeah, and we're going to have people that watch this. There's certain people that we play with, higher level players, that could probably delve off into some of this. But for me, I always come back to it's a percentage thing. Until you can master certain other fundamentals, I don't think players at our level need to be trying too much of that type stuff. And I think that's what Zane was saying in his video. That's not to say, hey, don't dream big and try some different stuff, because it's just like the scorpion and the scorpion shot, Vicki. That shot is built for shorter players like yourself and some of our shorter ladies, because y'all are so low to the. I'm serious. I mean, get your paddle up there and get ready. If it goes to the paddle, pat that sucker right back down at them. But if it doesn't, it's sailing out. It's harder for a player like Ken. Ken can squat down and he's still 6 foot tall.
Right.
So it would be harder for Ken to learn that shot than it would be for a shorter player. So
it's a great point. Great point. I mean, and again, I think your point about mastering the basics and mastering so many other more important shots is really more important than a lot of these. They're fun to do. And some are going to work for some people. And like Bud said, with the tomahawk, it's just going to be a real challenge to get that paddle back in place. So again, not everything's going to work for everybody, but I think your other point about mastering those basics is even more important.
Number 5, this is a good one. Heavy topspin dinks.
There is only 14 feet from kitchen line to kitchen line. It is really, really difficult to close the face of the paddle, roll up the back of the ball, get topspin, and get it down in front of your opponent when you're at the kitchen line. That is a professional thing to do. It takes thousands and thousands of repetitions. Amateur players are much, much better off hitting a flat dink.
At one time, I tried to get myself to do a topspin dink, and I quit doing it because I need to concentrate on just getting the dink in and being able to place it where I want to place it, and not add the thought of putting topspin on it.
Right. Yeah. Being successful, consistent is the most important thing.
Yeah. Here's what I see when I see, and look, I'm talking players at our level. Higher level players can pull this off sometimes. I see two players cross court and they're heavy roll and skimming the top of the net. It usually, after 3 or 4 shots, that ball's going to end up in the net. So it's something that's hard to master. If the ball's sitting up, yeah, take that ball and roll it back hard, cross court in the dink situation. But the person that you rolled it to at our level and it's low, they don't need to try to roll that sucker back. They just need to, and I think Zane said this in the video, just take and hit that ball back flat to be consistent. You sit there trying to roll that shot hard back and forth at our level, and it's going to be a comedy of errors quickly from what I've seen.
No doubt.
Yeah, and part of that may come is if that topspin is a more natural shot that you're coming from a paddle sport that you're used to. But it's something to change the pace of a dink. You're dinking flat, you're dinking with backspin, then you come in with a topspin dink and surprise them because you've now got a different trajectory, different pace on the ball. So, but again, it's another shot for you to either to work on unless you come to the pickleball with kind of that ability from a previous sport.
Yeah. And his big point was distance, right? That you need more distance to do that successfully. And so again, that's mastering your shot well enough that you're going to be able to get it in there.
Number 6, letting the ball get behind you.
For amateurs, I would definitely recommend taking a drop step to try and keep that ball in front of your body. It'll make your dink shots much more consistent than reaching behind you, letting that ball get behind you.
I think that's something that I know we worked on. I know, Jeff, that's something you've told me a number of times to watch out for, and that's to more so taking one step back before you hit the ball rather than try to hit it at your side. So I think that's a good one.
It is a good one, Bud. And he used, and I've watched J.W. Johnson play a bunch, and he used him in this video. J.W. does that a whole lot, but J.W. he's a different animal. He can reach back there and he can put it where it needs to be, but it's very difficult. So any players out there that are watching him that are thinking, hey, that's how I should do it, get out on the court and test yourself out and see how many mistakes you make on that. Instead of opening up, dropping that back leg, like we teach, and getting behind the ball, it is the best way to do that. And again, I think Zane's doing. We want to emulate pro players, but I think Zane's doing a good job of showing us some of the things that they do, and this is one of them that we shouldn't do.
Yeah, like I said, my own experience. That's something I used to do a lot, and I've really tried to get away from it.
You do have time to take that drop step, or even sometimes you have to take a crossover step if it's going way wide to get over there and get behind it.
I think the big trick is there, again, try to do whatever you have to keep that ball in front of you.
That's where our consistency comes from, for sure. Catching those dinks out in front of us.
Number 7, ripping the ball from the transition zone.
Unless you can generate tremendous amounts of pace from that transition zone like a pro player, your opponents are going to have too much space to react to your shot. That's why we generally want to soften that ball and work our way to the kitchen.
Wow, this is a good one, I think.
Yes, sir.
Well, I will say just from the beginning of doing our drills and hearing over and over and over how never do that's not something that you want to do. And I'll say that probably within the last 6 months of watching the pros, you can see they do it. They do it. But again, like you brought up in the last discussion, Jeff, these are different players. This is something that, and we know several people at the park that do this and do this really well because they're tennis players, ex-tennis players. And that's a shot that it just comes natural to them. But again, going back to percentages and consistency, who's comfortable with it, who's not comfortable with it. Again, is this a high percentage shot for you or a low percentage shot for you?
This is, we're already tapping into Burr Under My Saddle. I know that's coming up later in this episode. And I'm gonna play devil's advocate when I do Burr Under My Saddle today, but I'm gonna go back to Ben and Colin Johns, who are the best doubles men's players in the world. And if you sit there and look at it through a coach's eyes, watching their matches, you will see lay off of balls in the transition zone. And some of them, you look at it and go, man, they could have fired that. But they know the percentages. And they know that if they can reset enough to get themselves to the line, they're going to have a really good chance of winning that point. So for me, this is a big one. I see it all the time in rec play. And I see people speed that ball up and it comes back. It comes ripping back at you, about rip your shirt off if you don't watch out. Coming back at you really fast. And it depends on what type players you're playing. Don't play against some 2-5, 3-0 players and speed up from the transition zone and feel like, hey, this is what I need to do all the time. Because you're going to find out real quick when you get up to the 4-0, 4-5 level that don't work anymore as well. And from there, it is a percentage thing. Vicki, you said it. You've watched some players at Pelican Point. Hey, if you're one of those outliers that you speed it up and it's working for you, then go for it. But I encourage people to check the percentages. Don't feel really good about 1 out of 10 because it felt good, and not realize that 9 out of 10 you're getting beat on that shot.
Well, that's a really good point. I know when I do hit a ball from the transition zone hard, I'm usually moving forward, and I try to stop and make the shot, but still my momentum and my progression, my thought process is get forward. And a lot of times you hit that hard shot and it comes back at you just as hard, and it usually is by you before you wake up. You don't have time to react to that shot. So I think he makes a really good point there that we should be trying to get to the kitchen, the no volley zone, and softening that shot up a little bit. So I like that.
Yeah, that is where the learning the reset from that area is so important. For one thing, you have to recognize the fact that you're a little further back, and it's much easier if it's coming back at you faster. It's coming back usually at your feet. And any good players, like Jeff's saying, when you get to those higher levels, it's going to come back quicker and it's going to come back down at your feet. This was one transition from 3-5 to 4-0. One of the first things that we said, my partner Janice and I said when we got off the court after playing our first 4-0 tournament was, we have got to learn to reset. I mean, block and reset. It just has to, from the transition zone, it just has to happen. And so that again is going back to mastering one of those basics before you start trying and relying on some of the fancier shots.
The one ball that really gets me in this scenario, I say it really gets me, I act like it's really bothering me, but it's where I see a lot of mistakes. A lot of times within a point, there is a slow ball. It's usually the serving team that's hitting it. There is a slow, low ball that comes into the transition zone. And at our level, it is an easy ball that if we will loop and reset into the kitchen, us both, me and my partner, we're going to get to the net. But I see that ball from a low position sped up and it's fired back at us and the point ends. Okay, now we might have lost the point if we'd have reset it and got on up to the kitchen, but we'd have had a much better chance of winning the point. And I encourage people to try to seek out that ball that I'm talking about. It's when you and your partner are back off the line and it's going to take another shot or two to get you on up there. Try to resist speeding that ball up, and I think over time you'll see that you're going to win a higher percentage of points.
That's kind of the difference between trying to win the point and trying to continue to work the point. You're in a neutral situation, or you're trying to remain neutral till you have a pop-up, as opposed to trying to make a play on a low percentage ball and speeding it up too quickly.
And it is, Ken. It's hard to do because it's a slow-moving ball a lot of times, and it's tempting. Hey, this ball's not moving real fast. Let me put it real fast somewhere where I want to. The problem is that people need to realize it's low. The ball is down low. So if you speed it up, now your trajectory is up towards your opponent's shoulders. They can either let it fly out, or if it's going to be a fairly easy ball for them attack back down low. I hear people talk about, man, they sure hit the ball hard at me. Well, maybe you're the problem, speeding up too many balls. Take some of those balls and put them in there where you can slow it down, where they can't hit it hard back at you. Maybe it's something that somebody's doing that's giving people a lot more opportunities to speed up balls. I think I sent y'all Dean Gingrich. He said that it's one of the two things that he sees at the amateur level. The biggest mistake he sees is speeding up from the transition zone. And I think that Zane Navratil is piggybacking on that and reinforcing that point.
Number 8, resetting. When somebody smacks the ball at you, trying to soften it up and deaden it into the kitchen will absolutely kill your game. The hardest thing about resetting is you have a 7-foot kitchen in which to hit this ball. It's coming at you at 30 miles per hour, and you need to take just enough pace off of it to get it to land in front of your opponent. Such a difficult shot. One of the most difficult shots in pickleball. Even pros tend to favor counterattacking rather than resetting because it is so difficult to time that ball and make it land in front of your opponent at the kitchen.
And here's where he favors the counterattack, in that it's not always so easy to reset when that ball's coming at you so fast. And funny thing, I reminded Ken about that this morning, that Jeff, you did that quite a number of times yesterday at the net, and took advantage of the chance to counterattack, which it worked for you every time. It worked for you, so it was good.
Well, it's funny that this came up, y'all, because y'all played with me probably more and longer than anybody, and I've always been real big on resetting, and I think I do a good job of it, but the problem that I've run into last year or two is resetting too much when I should be counterattacking. So that it kind of hit home with me when I saw this particular part of Zane's video. I think both skills are very important, but it's like he said, the game is really turning to a more offensive game, in my opinion, with the new paddles and all the stuff. And we've talked about all that. So I'm trying to work on that. I'm trying to get off of and reset at the right time, but then counterattack at the right time.
And like he said in the video, I'm trying to work on my resets. It's a hard shot to get from a fastball to be able to slow it down, get it over the net and into the first 3 or 4 feet of their kitchen line. That's a shot that almost takes a lot of reps to master it. And I'm just really starting to work on resetting. And I think there's times that I'm trying to reset when I shouldn't be. That's what I kind of took away from what he had to say. I just need to be able to counterattack instead of trying to reset it sometimes.
And I'll say this, there were several opportunities in a match I played yesterday. And again, we talked about the Scorpion and the Tomahawk and how the Scorpion works for shorter people. And at least 2 times a reset came back to me that was right at that right pretty part, and I could just lower myself down and put it away. And so there again was a reset, but I managed to counterattack and put it away. So I think it is a change for us. I agree with you, Jeff. It's just such a change in everything that we've been thinking, but it is becoming more of an offensive way of thinking than just constantly worrying about being on the defense.
Yeah, for me, what I've been figuring out, I've most all of my career, I've been a defensive oriented player, and good offense is going to defeat good defense most of the time. So this is to Zane's point of trying to figure out ways to be more offensive, and I'm trying to do that. So counterattacking, but again, Ken, you said it a while ago. You got to kind of weigh it out. If you're trying to counterattack balls that are coming too fast and the percentage of, but you're not doing it well, let's say it's 2 out of 10, then to me, you need to work on your resetting more and try to get that in balance if possible. Now, if you're counterattacking at a clip of somebody attacks you and 7 out of 10, you're counterattacking and winning points, then I say keep on counterattacking. So it's trying to figure out where you're at with your game as far as, to me, what you would work on there. But I think to Zane's point, he's trying to give us a heads up. Hey folks, counterattack more. You need to work on your counterattacks more than resetting.
Good advice. Good advice. And it's got all of us thinking. This video, again, part of the reason why we chose to do it is because it has us all thinking. These are shots we see on the court all the time. And again, mastering anything you choose to do and anything that works for you, drill it. Learn to master it. And then it becomes second nature on the court when you're playing a match.
Well, I think we can all say that nobody really disagreed with any of the points that he made. And I think he was on target on all of them. And just after having watched the video and then thinking about the play that I've experienced over the last couple of months, all of his points are right on target. That was a great discussion, a good video from Zane. And now it's time for Jeff and his Burr Under My Saddle.
You're Burr under my saddle, your thorn sticking in my side.
You can play devil's advocate here. Speedups from the transition zone sometimes can work. And let's say you do it in a match and it works the first 2 times. Well, maybe your opponents are having trouble with it. So speed the ball up and try to pick your spots to do that in. The other part of this is, and for me, I guess it's why it's a bigger Burr under my saddle. I feel like I am pretty good at the dink line at our level when we get there. So I want a partner that's going to try to help me get there as much as possible. That fits me good. But pickleball is not a one-size-fits-all. That's just for my game. So there are people out there that have really fast hands that can speed up from that transition zone, come in behind it, and finish most of those points. So that's what I was talking about today. The Burr under my saddle is, I'm playing devil's advocate here. It can go both ways. And please I don't want anybody to ever think, man, this is the way to do it and that's it. Because we're not like that at all. We're just trying to provoke people's thoughts, get you to thinking about your game and how you can improve your game. That's what we're here for. So that's this week's Burr Under My Saddle.
All right, Jeff, thanks for that always thought-provoking Burr Under My Saddle. And now it's time.
Hey, bud, I've got a shout out.
Okay, I've just got one shout out today, and we were at Stacks yesterday, and I met a gentleman who gave me his business card, and turned out he was PPR certified coach, and it got me to thinking about all of our coaches in our region, and we even got to watch Cindy Morris and Holly Smith teach while we were there, and I'm just hearing more and more about people who are stepping up to get certified. And so I wanted to just give a little shout out to all of our coaches in the region. And please let us know if you are a certified coach. I would love to compile even a better list than what I have. And especially in some of our outlying areas, because more and more and more people are hearing about pickleball. They want to learn how to play, and it is so important that they learn how to play the right way. We see people get out there on the courts all the time, and they just wing it. They don't really know what they're doing. And so we're grateful to everybody who sort of chimes in to teach them the rules and teach them what to do and what not to do. But I do think it's a good thing that we have the coaches that we have, and we'd love to hear from you. So send your information to me. And back to you, Bud.
If it's okay, I'd shout out too,
Sure,
if that's okay.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, y'all bear with me. I'm going to try to get through this. My dad passed away on Monday. Oh, hang on just a second. I'm going to I just wanted to make mention to all my pickleball friends out there that have sent me texts, phone calls, came up to me and given me a hug and a word of encouragement. It has been incredible. Pickleball people are some of the best people. And to whoever's watching this that are friends of mine, I just want to say thank you. That's
We love
it.
you, Jeff. We love
Sorry.
you.
I'm
And we're
sorry.
No, Jeff, we love you, bub.
love you, buddy, and no reason to be sorry. And we're just sorry for you and the pain that you feel. We know that you gave him a beautiful
Yeah,
tribute on Facebook. You did a great job on that.
Thanks, Vicki, for those shout outs. And Jeff, thank you for your tribute to your daddy. Hot off the press, it's time for Ken's tournament previews.
Hey, thanks, bud. I got to tell you, we have tournaments coming left and right. Matter of fact, I acquired some special pickleball tournament glasses to help me get through this part of the segment. So, starting with February 2024. Sorry, I don't think I charged them up. February 2024, February 10th. This is the Team Sportsplex Indoor Pickleball Tournament in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Go to www.gulfcoastpb.com/tournaments. This is men's doubles, women's doubles only, and this will be in Baton Rouge. February 13th through 15th, this is the Pickle Graw Jamboree at the Foley Event Center in Foley, Alabama. Registration closes February 2nd. There's 193 people registered already. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. Scott Korth is the tournament director. If you haven't played in the Foley Event Center, it's a great venue, especially with all the rain and the cold we've been getting lately. That's the place to play. February 16th through 18th is the 5th annual Southern Hills Polar Bear Tournament in Shreveport, Louisiana. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. There's already 51 people registered for that tournament. It's $60 plus $20 per event. February 18th, Pelican Park, Mandeville, Louisiana. There'll be an outdoor tournament on the 8 courts. Go to www.gulfcoastpb.com/tournaments. This is men's doubles, women's doubles only. It's a one-day tournament. I'm looking forward to that one. Let's see, February 23rd through 25th, the Canebrake Country Club in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Go to pickleballbrackets.com. There's over 55 people registered. This is a beautiful complex, 12 outdoor permanent courts. I can't wait to hear back from that tournament. It's a beautiful, beautiful facility. Here's a brand new one, February 23rd through 25th at Stacks. This is the Crime Stoppers Smash Pickleball Tournament at Stacks in Baton Rouge. Go to stackspb.com/events. There's more to come. Registration has not opened yet, but save the date, February 23rd. February 27th through March 3rd, Paddles at the Plex, Opelika, Alabama. Go to pickleballbrackets.com. It's worth the trip. There's over 400 people registered. Their tournaments usually draw between 700 and 800 people. Going to March 15th through 17th, Mississippi Senior Games, Pops Ferry in Biloxi, Mississippi. Go to pickleballbrackets.com. Already 78 people have registered for it. Remember, this is a qualifying year, so there'll be singles, doubles, mixed doubles, gender doubles, and it's a qualifying year for nationals in the summer of 25 in Des Moines, Iowa. March 16th, 17th, Paddles on St. Patty's Day, Pelican Park, Mandeville, Louisiana. We'll put the URL at the bottom of the screen. Registration is now open. Also, March 15th through 17th is the first annual pickleball tournament at the Graywood Golf and Racket Club in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. There'll be singles, gender doubles, and mixed doubles. March 22nd through 24th, Pickle in the Dell at the Cross Gates Club in Slidell. I just got word just a few minutes ago before we started to record the podcast that look at pickleballbrackets.com. The registration should be up soon, so for you to get registered. Also, the same weekend, March 22nd through 24th, the Battle at the Beach at the Gulf Shores Sportsplex, Gulf Shores, Alabama. Again, go to pickleballbrackets.com. There's 40 people registered, and it's $70 per person for that tournament. March 29th and 30th, it's the Alabama Open in Clay, Alabama. Again, go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. Let's go to April 6th. It's a Miss Mississippi. It's a mixed doubles only. It's a one-day tournament, Halls Ferry Park in Vicksburg, Mississippi. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. April 12th through 14th. This is the Hattiesburg Pickleball Classic at Tatum Park in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. Marlena Martis is the tournament director. This is a fundraiser for the Young Life organization and the USM Wesley Foundation. Friday is open play. Saturday, gender doubles. Sunday is mixed doubles. We're really looking forward to this tournament. There's already 120 people registered for it. It's going to be a great weekend. The same weekend, April 12th through 14th, is the Alabama Senior Games in Opelika, Alabama. Again, go to pickleballbrackets.com for that. April 20th and 21st, this is the second annual Dinking in the Delta in Greenwood, Mississippi. It's $50 per person. You're guaranteed 3 matches per event. And go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. April 20th, back at Pelican Park Outdoor Courts, Mandeville, Louisiana. Go to www.gulfcoastpb.com/tournaments. This will be men's doubles, women's doubles, and mixed doubles. See, the last weekend in April, another brand new tournament, April 28th. This is Pickle for a Cause. This will be at Fritchie Park Gym in Slidell. For registration, we're going to put a phone number at the bottom of the screen, and I have a QR code. You can scan the QR code to register as well. This will be men's doubles, women's doubles, and mixed doubles. Going to August 8th through 11th, this is the second annual NOLA Pickle Fest at the Moriel Convention Center in New Orleans. Pickleballbrackets.com to register. There's already 123 people registered. On Saturday, you'll have John McEnroe and Drew Brees, each pairing with a pro to play on match on what is their center court. That's a fun event. Even if you don't play, plan to head out for at least one of those days to watch some really good pickleball. Finally, in October 4th through 6th is the Louisiana Senior Games at the Legacy in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Again, we're qualifying for nationals in Des Moines, Iowa in 2025. And finally, October 25th through 27th is the Hollow Wheel Tournament in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Registration will open in April. If you have a tournament update or want to send me a note, my email will be at the bottom of the screen. That's it, Bud. Back to you.
All right, Ken, thanks for those updates on local tournaments. Everybody, we got a lot of tournaments out there. Let's get out and play some pickleball. And now, crew, if nobody has anything else, I think it's time to say goodnight. Good night, everybody. See you on the court.
Hey, from the Pickleball crew, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next week.
Well, that's it for this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave any comments, and please like and subscribe to our channel. Thanks again, and see you next week.